Fresh and
All right, welcome back to another episode of Fresh and Buds. It is episode 41. I'm so excited to be here. I'm Tommy Fresh. You are all my buds, and I'm joined by a great bud of mine, Mr. Az from Go Again Gaming. You know him. He's got the beautiful hair. You know, I know we're on audio right now, but you can just picture it. I'm looking at it on a webcam right now, and oh my God, it is beautiful and luscious. I'm so happy to have you back, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, mate. I'm good to be back. But although I am sobbing that I could not get to New Jersey to meet you, unfortunately. But there'll be a time and a place, maybe next year. But yeah, I'm good. Apart from that.
Yeah, well, you know what? Obviously, it would have been great to meet you there, but I would love for us to meet on your home turf as well. You know, I have one more ProQuest, right? As of recording this, and if I win the ProQuest, I will go to France, and I hope to see you there. Hopefully.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, let's go then. Let's do that. Make whatever it takes to get him to a ProQuest.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, my chances aren't great, as many people know. I play Leviathan. However, I did top 8 a ProQuest last weekend at Owl Central Games in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It's a home of Amish country. Are you familiar with the Amish at all?
Yeah. I'm familiar with the culture and what have you, but yeah, I mean that's amazing that you made top 4 of Leviathan.
Yeah, well, only
great.
top 8. I lost in the first round of the top 8, but it was fun just rolling those scab skins and smashing with some claws. It was a lot of fun, and maybe I'll throw the deck list in the show notes for people if they're interested.
Yeah.
But before we get into everything, I do want to kind of thank our sponsor, which is all of you on the Patreon. It's the Patreon has been around for a little bit now, and you know, I put on some, you know, fun little extra things for folks. Nothing really behind a paywall outside of some random ramblings that I throw out there sometimes, and that's really it. But if you're interested in supporting the show, keeping the mics hot, the lights on here at Casa de Fresca, check it out, and the information for that will be in the show notes. But I want to get to you, Mr. Az. First of all, welcome back.
Isn't it?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while. We've chatted. You know, we chat quite a bit, but we haven't hopped on the mics in quite a while. I'm excited. We did do the Everfest, your Everfest video, which was quite quite the marathon.
Yeah. That's going to be similar to what we're doing today. I mean, people that don't know, we've got another podcast to do today, haven't we? So it's going to be a very, very long night for both of us.
We're hopping on the Flesh and Pod. They're those fine folks over there. We're doing this one, then we're hopping right onto that one, and at this point we're marathon speakers. At this point in time. But
absolute going to fatigue.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a good name for a podcast.
It is.
But I wanna, before we hop into anything, crazy in the main topics, I wanna hear a little bit about what you've been up to since we last chatted.
Yeah. So just a few different projects. It's that things have slowed down for me for a little bit recently. But that's only because, sometimes you have to take a break a little bit and just reassess as to what content you want to do, what you want to put out, and that's how you make the best stuff, isn't it? You have to put out what you're passionate about. So I'm starting. Obviously, the UPF series is carrying on strong. I'm editing the third video of that now. Those take ages to do, so I'm always happy when those come out because they go up on Red Zone Rogue's channel and DM Armada's channel as well, and it gets quite a lot of reach. I've had a few sort of retweets from like the professor at Tolarian Community College about it as well. So that's the main thing that I sort of focus on at the moment is the UPF stuff. But then starting to do a little commoner show, which I'll have to get you on at some point to play Leviathan as a commoner deck.
Absolutely.
If you could throw one together for me.
I already have one built. I'm ready to go. We just gotta find the time.
Yeah. exactly. But yeah, I'm still loving the game, still loving Flesh and Blood, and loving the community aspect of it as well. Like Twitter has just blown up recently over the last couple of months, with all these wonderful ladies coming into the game as well, and other sort of personalities that are coming into it. And I'm looking forward to, again, the moment we're filming this. Flake's about to release an awesome podcast with loads of awesome ladies on as well. So it's just great to see that the diversity is continuing to grow. And I think that's a massive factor for the game growing, as well as all the casual formats like Commoner and UPF and stuff being played at large events. I think is another thing which is going to be good going forward. So just enjoying watching all that sort of stuff grow over the last month, over the last couple of months or so, really.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned a lot of the great people have kind of come out into the community and of all different backgrounds and genders and
Yeah.
everything and I can't help but put out the idea into the world that it's more players is always good for the game and that should be the goal for LSS and us as content creators. It's very good to see.
Yeah.
And you mentioned your UPF series. Now,
Uh-huh.
the beautiful thing about I know you mentioned it takes a long time to edit, and I can't
Yeah.
even imagine. I can't even imagine taking that on, and you're really quite the trooper for doing it. But the beautiful thing is, it's not really time. I guess dependent is the word I'm looking for. Maybe it doesn't need to have a sort of time relevance because it's totally casual. You don't have to worry
Yeah.
about anything kind of changing in a meta or anything. You are just sitting down
Yeah.
with some of your friends and playing UPF.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Yeah.
say that the reach has been great. How has the reception been? Are people really getting into UPF at this point?
Yeah. I think a lot of people have, so some people have even said, "Oh, this is like the Flesh and Blood series of game nights." Are you familiar with game nights?
I
The
am.
Commander
I've heard
series?
of them. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just the reception's been really good. Obviously, there's been some constructive criticism as well with regards to like audio and certain things like live totals not showing and stuff. So yeah, it's a learning curve, but again, it's as you say, it's a very evergreen piece of content for this for the sheer fact that you are just sitting down and playing a stupid game with all these weird decks that is not dependent on the contemporariness of what you should be playing in the meta for whatever reason. So yeah, that's why. I always used to love Commander, and it's a similar sort of vibe to that. Just bunch of people having fun. So yeah, hope to continue that.
Yeah, and since we've last talked, they kind of officially recognized UPF in a more official way after Fab
Yeah.
2.0. And has that really changed anything for you, or you guys just kind of rolling with it as you were? Now I know that there was one major rule change. I believe you use a young hero now as opposed to an adult hero.
So yeah, you just use blitz decks now, which is good because if you look at the fact that UPF was very much its own format, it was like CC decks but with young heroes.
Mm-hmm.
So it was hard to sort of get your head around it. But now you can just bowl up to a UPF table with a blitz deck and you're ready to go. So I think the streamlining of that is a lot better. But saying that, the video that I'm editing at the moment, we are still using the old rules, but every video after that will be the new rules. But yeah, we haven't really noticed much difference. I think with the fact it's Blitz, you get to see more of your deck. So if you've got certain weird janky lines in there that you want to see, you probably will be seeing them a lot more in because it's the fact it's a smaller deck.
That's a cool
So,
thing that I've noticed. Even something that I realized when I draft a lot, since it's a 30 card deck, I pick cards and I'm like, in traditional draft with like Magic the Gathering, there's always a chance that you don't see the card that you draft. You don't see the really cool card that you picked up in draft. But in Fab Draft, you're going to see every card in your deck most likely.
yeah, exactly.
At least in 90% of the games. And that's a
Yeah.
cool thing, especially when you bring the smaller deck to the UPF table where you want to do all that crazy, wacky stuff,
Yeah.
which is really fun. Now,
Exactly.
when can we expect this next episode of the series to come?
I think it should be within the next week or so, tentatively speaking, because it takes a while to do. But yeah, I think it's within the next few weeks. Don't know what the date will be, but yeah, it should be fairly soon. Be after this podcast comes out, I expect.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the podcast will come
Yeah.
out tomorrow as we're recording.
Oh,
Now,
nice.
speaking of podcasts, you recently started one with the Red Zone Rogue and our bud here at the Fresh and Buzz podcast, Bill from Spike
Bill.
Feeders. Can you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it was more of basically a little bit of a behind the scenes thing here. Like whenever we record our sort of UPF games, it's always me, Bill, and Kel sat around for like 3 hours afterwards, just chatting garbage about Flesh and Blood, basically. So we was just like, right, this time that we spend chatting all this stuff about Fab, maybe we should just turn it into a thing, and so we did. So it's going to be a podcast about just encapsulating all aspects of the game rather than just like competitive stuff. It's going to be characters and lore and weird cards and flavor, and we will delve into some strategies, but none of us are top 8 competitors or anything like that. So it's just more of a sort of what's happening now, tweet of the week, question of the week, that sort of stuff. So yeah, just more of an excuse to just chat more about Flesh and Blood in all aspects of it, really.
Yeah, and what's the name of the podcast?
The Living Legends podcast.
So
because
currently,
we are all alive and we are all legends,
So currently, the podcast is you, Kel, Bill,
Yeah.
Assumedly Chain and Starvo as of Uprising coming out. Those were,
Yeah,
and
that's
I guess
right,
young Viscerai.
Yeah, they all make an appearance.
That's awesome, man. I mean, as a huge fan of podcasting and listening to podcasts, I love seeing more podcasts out there, and I think they really do have an importance in the content sphere for the game. And maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I do believe that truly, and I listen to a lot of the other guys out there, and it's awesome to see you guys do it, and I'm excited to. The first episode was like 3 hours long. I haven't sat down and listened to it yet, but
Yeah.
that might be after
Yeah.
we I need a break from talking. I'll have to pop you guys on and jam it out, but.
I mean, going forward, they will be shorter. It's just that we just wanted to get a big massive marathon thing out there of all the questions that we had from the when Kel put it out. He was like, give us a question. There was loads of questions on there, so we just thought we're just going to do them all, and then from then on we'll have a sort of structure that we follow. But yeah, it was good fun.
Nice.
So looking forward to doing more of it.
Very excited to check it out. Now, do you have any other projects on the horizon? You did mention Commoner. Now, this is a new series you're doing. We're going to talk a little bit about Commoner this episode, but can you give us a little insight on that?
Yeah, so it was similar. It will be similar to my the other series that I started and then stopped doing. But that's only because the other series that I was doing was more sort of it was sort of tailored towards more sort of competitive play, albeit I'm not really a competitive person. So everyone was bringing their sort of good decks, and I was just getting smashed left, right, and centre. So it was just me losing constantly. But I think with Commoner, it does level the playing field a bit, and you do have to think about the fact that it's very, very restrictive card pool. And again, I just want to do the same thing, get random people on that are involved in the community and just playing some jank. So I think that's definitely speaks to me more as a creator rather than actually just playing my Azalea deck over and over again, which is just going to lose every time. It's the Commoner Chaos series.
Commoner Chaos. I was about to ask, what was the name? Commoner Chaos, which I love that name.
Bit of alliteration, CC.
yeah, the other CC. So
the other CC, yeah.
I love it. And I believe most of the listeners out there, most of the buds out there, are familiar with your stuff. But if anybody isn't, I definitely recommend. It's always a ton of fun to watch. And I'm excited to be on the quote unquote CC series coming up now.
Man, you're more than welcome to come on to play Leviathan or any sort of brute.
Oh yeah, it's going to be Leviathan. I've been down the Rhinar road. I think I'm good.
Yeah,
and KO seems like not the best without like the rares that he has
That's right.
available. So
Yeah.
Levi it is. I think Levi has a great common card pool, and we'll talk about that. But I'm going to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
jamming Levi. Now,
Sounds good.
when we first had you on here, I wasn't doing the segment, the fresh faves per se.
This is my favorite part of your podcast now.
Now, and I figured since we have you back on, we're gonna throw the fresh faves at you,
Yeah.
and you're familiar with it. I'm going to ask you
Yeah.
your favorites of a couple different categories here. Now, who is your favorite hero?
Favorite hero. So back when we did the first podcast, I think my favorite hero was Viserai, and it is still very much my favorite hero from a sort of lore and flavor perspective. It's like the dark warlock sort of character. My sort of attraction to characters is their lore and their theme and how I can relate to them in like other RPGs or games that I've played. Viserai was very much one of my favorites for that reason. Still is. Although I did lose a bit of love for him when obviously he was just getting played left, right, and centre. And he was using a weapon which was not his actual weapon. Let's be honest, it's not Rosetta Thorn. It's not Viserai's weapon.
It doesn't make sense. As I don't know why they did that.
No, it should be an elemental runeblade weapon. But here we go. That's a whole other podcast. Viserai still one of my favourites, and of course Azalea as well. Not for the reason that Azalea has A and Z in her name, but Azalea one of my favourites as well. Always love Ranger. Always love the mechanics and the theme of putting something into your arsenal to then fire it off. Very very thematic, flavourful. And I do still think at the moment that she has potentially the best shooter effect in the game with Knock the Death Whistle and the best on-hit effect of Red in the Ledger. It's just the fact that she's not consistent enough to be able to threaten what's going on at the moment. But yeah, still one of my favourites. I love the sort of assassin, rogue, thief sort of class in RPGs, and again, she's the closest one to that. So that's what I would say on those favourite hero. There's probably two heroes there.
Yeah. I mean, those are. I mean, the Viserai. I'm a little bit done with Viserai. I know that some of the buds out there aren't happy when I say that, but but I have a massive respect for Azalea as a deck and a hero, and for Azalea players. At the calling in New Jersey, my first round was against Azalea, and I got hit pretty hard. Those tall arrows were very hard
tall
for
build, wasn't it?
Yeah, very tall,
Yeah.
and with a little bit of go wide, but it seemed to really just want to hit super hard, and it was tough with Levi. Unfortunately, those sleep darts, man, those will get you.
Yeah. Sleep dart tribal in Commoner. It's going to be a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Now, what is your favorite weapon?
Favorite weapon. So again, I'm going with two different weapons here, and they're actually both, sort of for the aforementioned heroes that are my favorite. So with Azalea, I think favorite weapon for her, or one of my favorites for her, is Dreadbore, which is obviously the new one, which came out of Everfest. And with Viserai's or Runeblade, I think it's my favorite. It's the Reaping Blade. I'm going to throw a question at you now, and all the listeners out there that might be listening to this now or in the future. Can you decipher why those might be my favorite weapons?
Well, if I had to guess, Dreadbore. Well, you want to play it in Azalea, and is one of the most badass looking weapons in the game.
Yeah.
The Reaping Blade, well, obviously you can play it in Viserai. Why do you look at Reaping Blade and that's your favorite? It's very cool as well, and very metal and purple. And I know you
very metal. Yeah, that's a good answer that I didn't actually think of. They are both very metal weapons, aren't they? Like pure deathcore style. But yeah. So basically, both of these weapons, in the text boxes, they have a static effect on the weapon. So Dreadbore says you can't play defense reactions from hand, and Reaping Blade says if you've been dealt damage or something. No, if someone has more life than any other hero, they can't gain life. So basically, both weapons have a static effect that then gives you another ruling on the actual game in question that you have to navigate around. So I think it's a very, very good design space for Rangers, I think, in general, because if they have a weapon that says, right, defense reactions can't be played at all, you can't block with whatever card. You can't block with your armor or something like that. Yes, that's going ridiculously far ahead. But I love the fact that both of these weapons have static effects on them that then sort of change the game state. And I think that's a nice little thing that they could experiment with going forward. Is rules, weapons or pieces of armor or something that if it inflict something else on the game state, I think is quite good.
Yeah, and you don't see a lot of that in the game currently. We see a lot of on-hit effects or some triggered abilities.
Yeah.
These static effects, while the Dreadboard static effect is clearly powerful, the Reaping Blade it seems to kind of be hinting towards something in the future that we're
Yeah.
going to have to worry about, which is kind of cool as well.
Yeah.
Now,
And the Reaping Blade, the Reaping Blade was what I was using before Rosetta Thorn because it's just a one attack for 1 for 3 with just a weird ability on it. So I was using that before Rosetta came out, and then it just makes sense, unfortunately, to use the Rosetta instead.
yeah.
But yeah, so I got a soft spot for the.
It's like
Blade.
the bittersweet thing that we have to use Rosetta Thorn every god dang
That's
Rune Blade. But
yeah,
Briar will get Living Legend eventually, and then we'll never have to deal with it again. Now,
exactly.
A favorite equipment.
Favorite equipment. So it's a funny one because I've never owned a tunic before. So the thing I always go to is Heart and Cross Strap. So it doesn't block for anything, I know, but it just basically says in the decks that I play, it basically says your next attack, whenever you deem it necessary to do so, is free.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like to have that fail safe where I can just be like, right, I'm going to crack the cross strap now to make this battering bolt cost nothing. Or this Red in the Ledger can now just attack. I don't have to pay for it. So yeah, I do like that. And obviously we've had a little spoiler recently as well for that Blossom of Spring, which does sort of the same sort of thing where you crack it and you get 1 resource. But yeah, I think I've always liked Heart and Cross Straps simply because I don't have a tunic, but it just allows me to play anything at any time for free in my decks, basically.
Yeah. I know there's been some discussion about that Blossom of Spring as well. It's significantly worse than Tunic because it's not an instant speed, but
That's right.
hopefully a good commoner option if it is a common when it comes out. I believe it will be, and it'll be cool to see. Now, what is your favorite non-hero, non-weapon, non-equipment card? Your run-of-the-mill cards, your instance, non-attack actions, and attack actions.
Oh yeah, so this is like a collection of cards, and it's like a mechanic in general that I think should be fleshed out more in the future, and that's discard effects. So any effect on a card that says target hero discards a card or has to discard a card unless they do this or that, I think is very underrated strategy. Which it doesn't have much support at the moment. There's a few cards out there that do it, mainly in Runeblade with Reek of Corruption and Consuming Violation. I think those sort of if we can interact more with players' hands, I think that's going to be a fantastic strategy to go, especially if ninjas come out of nowhere now with obviously the uprising stuff. Interacting with players' hands, I think, could screw over a lot of those. I want to play in my entire handout situation every turn. And more control-y effects, like obviously the ice does it, like Winter's Bite and stuff. That the ice is sort of going into that, so I reckon we might see more of that in Uprising as well, with regards to just sort of taxing effects and starving them of resources, whether it's cards from hand or Frostbite.
Yeah, as a Leviathan player, I'm not a huge fan of these strategies. I mean, I can only get hit by the dominated. Crippling Crush from Starvo so many times where I was like, oh well, I'm about to take so much blood debt, but it is what it is. But yeah, these effects are really cool, and I'm sure we're going to see expansions on them for sure. And the nice thing about them is, or at least for Brute, is you get to discard things like Beast Within to kind of get that card back, and it's like a little gotcha, which is fun. But yeah, so that was the fresh faves. I hope everybody enjoyed Az's answers. I know I did. And speaking of answers, we have some listener questions.
Mm-hmm.
So in the Buds Discord, everybody's welcome to join. It's in the link tree if anybody's interested. Az hangs out in there, as well as a lot
Yeah.
of other great people, and it's a good time. So I put it out there. I said, hey, our Bud Az is going to be on the show. Does anybody have some questions? And I'm going to fire some off. The first
Sounds good.
one is from Azor, who
Oh, yeah.
says, "Flicking cards?" Question mark.
Picking cards. What do you what do you feel about this? I mean, I'm not too bad about it. If people are flicking cards, that's their way of sort of dealing with the anxiety that I'm coming in with a red in the ledger. That's fine. But I don't do it personally. I don't. I just sort of look at my hand and then place it on the table and then just fold my arms and just look at my opponent directly in the eyes until they make their decision. But yeah, it's a weird one. What do you think about flicking cards? You do it?
I definitely do it. I don't think I
Yeah.
do it a ton as much anymore. Based on how I've started to play Flesh and Blood, like I like to keep my hand in like an order that makes sense for the turn I'm about to have.
Yeah.
And especially if I play out I guess I do it more when I'm on the defense and I'm thinking about how I want to block.
Yeah.
Less so when I'm on offense and then I'm throwing out attacks at people. I usually do the same thing. I put something out and then I kind of put them down and, wait for them to do whatever math they have to do, which,
Yeah.
wise man once said math is for blockers. So,
It is, yeah.
that's how I feel about flicking cards.
Yeah. Cheers for the question, as all. Yeah.
Yeah. And the next question comes from Super Legend, who says,
Yep.
how is it possible to keep casual formats casual? Do you keep it on the kitchen table or do you keep prizes out of it? Tryhards
Yeah.
manage to wiggle their way into casual things eventually.
Yeah, I think Super Legend sort of answered the own question there. You do have to keep it kitchen table. I think if as soon as you put prizes on the line or any sort of stakes on the line, I think that's when you will get the tryhards coming in to break formats or take home whatever the prize is. I think it's a hard thing to balance because I know that Commoner is going to become quite popular, and I think there probably will be like sort of prize support and all that sort of thing for it. So it's going to be interesting to see whether that does morph the format going forward. But yeah, keep it casual, keep it kitchen table. Just use it as a palate cleanser from your sort of blitz and CC stuff, and you shouldn't have an issue, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think things could exist in a like two separate ways, right? I think that like Commoner, we saw some big side events at New Jersey where people were playing for some great prizes, like the lore book I think was one of them, and people brought some really intense decks, which is great. But also, I think it can also exist on the kitchen table. It can also exist in the learn to play space as well. It's tough. UPF is another story. I think outside of the one weird tournament they had at New Jersey to get the gold foil silver palms. I think that that one's pretty easy to keep casual, but Commoner might be a little bit harder. But we're gonna dive into like kind of two different schools of thought with Commoner in a bit. But yeah, that's a great question, Super Legend.
Definitely.
The Bud Caleb, who him and his brother Seth are awesome, and I'll be hanging out with them in Vegas in a few weeks.
Nice.
Asked, so I remember reading about a player-made format called Arena. I know, he says. I know what he's referring to. Each player makes a deck with two young heroes. The life total of the player is the sum of the two heroes. The deck is 60 cards singleton that can use both specializations and class cards of both heroes. Each hero ability is also available to the player. I've never had a chance to play this format, but I think it sounds fun. What do you think?
I think that sounds really fun.
It really does.
I think that could. Yeah, I think that could be even more fun than Commoner. For a casual kitchen table sort of style thing, or like a weird arena table at an event, just to have a bit of fun, nothing on the line. I think that could be really interesting. Because then you could sort of pair, two sort of bizarre heroes together, and you could build loads of different types of decks that sort of support each other. So I think it's a really good idea. I'm surprised that nobody has made content on it yet. So
Well,
if you're
maybe
listening to this, yeah,
maybe you're the one, Az. Maybe you
maybe I'm
are.
the one.
I mean,
Oh.
it does sound really cool. Obviously, I'm already thinking, well, why don't I just play a chain deck with Levia so I could just turn off the blood debt that
Yeah.
I'm accruing from my carrion husk and stuff like that. But
Oh.
how good would Levia be with a single soul shackle on the field? The best, probably.
Oh, right, yeah.
Unstoppable. But
Unstoppable.
uh, but yeah, no, awesome. Now our friend Capolo, who was was a great guy, got downgraded to medium fella, and then he thought he was the best bud because he is a nice guy, but we have to keep him pretty medium. He's going to stay at medium fella for now.
Yeah.
He asked, "Do you think that allowing to play rare weapons and equipments is a good idea for the commoner format, or do you think it can cause some imbalance in the format?"
I think the weapons that are sort of classed as rare are not really weapons you see played very often anyway. I don't think, apart from obviously the mandible claws.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like the plasma barrel shot, I think is rare. There's a few other sort of funny sort of rare weapons that can just sort of, if it opens up a different deck style, then I'm all for it. I don't think there's any rare weapons that would cause any issues at this stage. So for now, until we see commoner pick up and decks be built, sort of built and tried out on that, I don't think it's going to be an issue. But yeah, that's it really.
Yeah, and you nailed it. I think with mentioning mandible claws, that's probably the most playable rare that I can think of. Maybe redliner for the Rangers out there, but yeah, I don't think it really matters. There's some other things that are going to cause some imbalance in the format that we have to worry about, which we'll talk
Seeds
about.
of Agony being unbanned. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll definitely talk about that. But yeah, no, great question, Cap. And then the last one comes from Andromeda, which I said wrong the last time. I said Andromeda, and I guess I just don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Andromeda.
Andromeda. And they ask, do you think Commoner is actually good to use to introduce people to Flesh and Blood?
Yeah, I think it is a good way to introduce people. Because it's a low entry point. You don't have to pay loads to get into it. You can play with the majority of synergies in decks and get an idea for what the heroes do around the cards that are available. And then if you do want to look at actual formats going forward, you can sort of start adding those more expensive majestics and rares to. I say that majestics and rares aren't really that much, depending on which ones you want. But you can start doing that after you've played a few commoner games. If you think, "Oh right, yeah, I really like this hero. I really like what they're trying to do," I can now go and pick up those rares and stuff, and I can see why those are rares and majestics in comparison to the ones I'm using. So I think it is a good entry point to the game. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and the commons typically, with some exceptions, don't really mess around with the core mechanics of the game. So,
No.
You're really getting the best view of how these cards work before you start getting a little wacky and get a little more intense with the game.
Exactly,
so, yeah, great question, Andromeda. Great question. Those are listener questions. They come from the Buds Discord. Anyone, as I said, is welcome to join. Now, let's get to the main topic, Mr. Az. Commoner is here officially, finally. Some people have been playing it in different ways. Some were adding rares. I think they were calling it sub super or something like that. But now LSS has officially recognized Commoner as a format, and we've already got some side events and stuff like that where people are playing it. It's pretty exciting. Now, you've started making some content for Commoner. What are your general thoughts on the format?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's really, really good. I mean, albeit the card pool is still, it's ever going to be expanding. We've still got quite a small card pool for it at the moment, but I think it just allows people to just, get away from, the typical formats and just play games with decks they might not necessarily have experimented with in the past. But then saying that, it's in I think it's in a bit of a weird place because it wants to be, or I don't know whether it wants to be, but I view it as being more of a janky format. But as soon as you, like the question we had earlier about when does it become try hard, is that what it's going to become? I don't know. Is as soon as you sort of make it a side event, will people try and break it? Is that what Commoner was supposed to be? So I don't know, I'm not sure right now as to what they want to achieve from it, but at the moment I think it's a nice little palate cleanser, and that's what I think it should be. But I guess there's always going to be people that want to break it, isn't there? So
Yeah, you can't help it with gamers in general, right?
no,
We all want to do something crazy. We all want to be, the
yeah.
person who does something first. But you bring up some good points there. But and where do you think the place for this format will be? That we've seen events, but do you think it will primarily be on the kitchen table, or the tournament scene, or just both, kind of coexisting?
I think it can be played on the kitchen table. I think the most effective use of Commoner will probably be sort of entry level events though, where you might have like a small sort of prize, but it's mainly tailored towards sort of newer players, people that haven't actually had experience with the game yet. And I think again, as we said just now, I think it's a great entry point into the game because it's very, very low barrier of entry. You can basically, anyone who's trying to start a community in their area can just make decks out of bulk that they've cracked from sealed product and sort of just make an event for intro or sort of beginners events. So I think that's probably the most effective use of Commoner. But I understand why, like, you might want to run an armory event or some sort of other event that is Commoner focused, just because it gives you a bit of a palate cleanser, and it might sort of attract a new a new audience that are sort of fed up with the meta at their local game store and stuff. So I think there's loads of positives to it. But I do think I think it should be used as either an intro beginner event or just switching things up, making local game stores more varied in the events that they're holding. I think we'll do a good job of that.
Yeah, and I agree. It's going to make for a good palate cleanser in the armory circuit,
Yeah,
and I would like to see them kind of plan commoner armories around their like learn to play events. If LGS runs a learn to play event like earlier in the week, and they have the armory later in the week, they can be like, hey, I hope you enjoyed this game. We're gonna run an armory this week, and we're gonna do commoner because we know we're gonna have a few of you people kind of come and play. And I think that's a great way to kind of put everybody on the same foot. As you mentioned, you've never owned a tunic.
yeah,
Why should you be, you know, punished for that? Because it's
exactly.
an
Yeah,
expensive card. So, it puts everybody on the same playing field in terms of what they can afford, which is nice. And I think that is it probably important for the growth of the game. It won't be the most popular format. It won't be, the next CC, and I doubt it will even be the next Blitz. But it's going to serve its purpose. But
exactly.
as it stands, is there anything you would change to the format, whether it's bans or how the card pool works?
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think anything at the moment is too good. I mean, obviously, I know I've played a few games of it so far for this series, and I did lose against a chain,
Mm-hmm.
which had obviously had Seeds of Agony in it. But I haven't played enough games to really sort of gauge whether there needs to be anything. But I don't think there needs to be any bans at the moment. I think it is still being sort of figured out, and that's why they've left it open with regards to you can just use any card. But if anything, I would change to the format. I mean, I actually ran with the Go Again Gaming Open 3, which is like a tournament I do, Discord tournament every few months or so. The last one I did, Go Again Gaming Open 3, it was commons and rares allowed in your deck, and
Mm-hmm.
I thought that allowed a lot more experimentation with regards to what you could and couldn't do. Like, Prism loses a lot of cards if you don't include the rares, like the Spectral Shield generators. I think Prismatic Shield. Prismatic Shield. I think it's called. And yeah, a lot of heroes do suffer by not having the rare slot. So, like your favorite Leviathan doesn't get Endless Maw or Writhing Beast Hulk, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah, it's,
but I will say we do get Dread Screamer. That's
Yeah.
the real engine in that deck, and the Graveling Growls as well. So can't
true.
complain too much. But yeah, no, I agree. I've played quite a bit of that kind of mixed rare and common or rare and
Yeah.
commons format, and it is fun. You get to do some wacky stuff. I wonder if that's a change that they will bring about, and then. You mentioned Seeds of Agony. I imagine if they do a ban list for commoner seeds, and probably Ball Lightning are
That's
on
true, yeah.
on the list to be axed, because they
Yeah.
are quite powerful. But
Bonkers.
what can you do? Now, I thought it'd be fun to kind of list our top 5 heroes for commoner in 2 different ways. Our top 5 for jank, which I know you love, and our top 5 for competitiveness, because I think there will be 2 different kinds of tournaments that we see for commoner. One where people are going hog wild with the jank, and then somewhere where they're just playing Seeds of Agony and Ball Lightning.
Yeah, well, I've got to be honest. When I read this part here, top 5 heroes to play for jank, top 5 heroes to play for competitiveness, I completely missed the fact that we was on about commoner.
Well, I'm sure it'll actually be kind of close.
Well, we'll see, but it could be absolute trash now. But never mind. But yeah. So yeah, just start with the jank ones, I guess. Shall we?
Yeah. You go ahead and list your 5 and say why, and then I'll hop on and list my 5.
Yeah. So top 5 heroes to play for jank. I said Azalea as number 1.
Of course.
Of course, I would say that. Then I said the Merchants. So I was referring to Genis and Kavdayan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, those are I forgot about them on my list. They probably would have made it.
Yeah, exactly. Just creating coppers and then doing nothing with them, because there's no payoffs for them at the moment apart from Kasai. So they're just getting rich for no reason. so if you can win with those, fair play. KO is just fun for jank because you can just sometimes hit someone for 14 with a common card. Obviously, I looked at this list and I didn't realise it was for commoner, but looking at commoner, KO comes out of nowhere, so I think that could be quite fun to just kill someone with a lucky roll. Rhinar I put on there for jank because you can. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no. That tracks. I think Rhinar can be pretty janky, and
yeah.
I'm looking at your list. I'm seeing a lot of brutes here.
Yeah, a lot of brutes for jank. Just because you can't really control them, can you? And I put Leviathan as well underneath Rhinar as well, just because you can't really mitigate the die rolls or the discards or anything as well if you're not running the rares and stuff. I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those are all some great janky cards. I think Rhinar probably could play pretty well if I don't have it on either list, but Rhinar I think could be. I think you can play that club, like that club control version of Rhinar and just like block out all the time. I think you can
bring
do
in
it.
the club. Yeah.
For my janky decks, I put Prism because, as you said, a lot of the good cards aren't really there. It'd be a real challenge to make some weird janky, probably like a Herald build of Prism. Not that I want to. I hate Prism, but
Yeah.
And then I did put Viscerai because I feel like the common pool for Viscerai is a little bit weaker than the other 2 Rune Blades. So I think you're going to have a lot more fun playing with Viscerai in Commoner. And then followed by that, I said Kano. I think Kano's.
Kano, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could do some cool stuff, and I actually heard, talking to a friend that played in the Commoner event at New Jersey, that he played against a really cool Kano deck and managed to live at 1 life, but he was a little concerned because he didn't think that Kano had it in him. and then I put
Yeah.
another wizard, Icelander, because the
Hmm.
Kraken's Aether Vein is majestic. So
That's right. Yeah.
can't really do the typical Icelander nonsense
No.
with Commoner. And then I followed up by Azalea, and it's the same reason as you. I think Azalea is always going to be the jank.
She's always going to be jank. Yeah.
yeah. Now
Just,
who
sorry.
who'd you put for competitiveness?
So again, I was thinking of this list as like post Starvo meta. So
Well, I'm actually looking at this list that you put, and a lot of this makes sense. Like even for Commoner.
Yeah. So Lexi, I think she's very, very interactive, and she will be interactive, no matter what meta you put her in, because the frostbite tokens, the discard effects and stuff. And I think in any format, that could be really, really good. And we have seen it played to extremely well recently. So yeah, that's why I put
And
Lexi
she gets
on there.
ball lightning in this format.
She does, yeah. So yeah, even better, even better. Then I put Briar and Chain, obviously, because the inherent go again on their abilities is just ridiculous, especially in Commoner. Viserai I put on here for competitiveness, but that's only because I thought the list was for actual stuff happening in the actual formats rather than Commoner. And then I put Oldhim on here as well. Again, another both Viserai. The reason I put Viserai on here is because of the fact he's got a lot of discard effects. I mean, I keep hammering this home recently because I think it will see play at some point. But he's got the Runeblade discard effects, and Oldhim again is using ice. So I think the ice mechanic and all that sort of thing is very interactive, and starving people's resources I think is going to be good with obviously the inherent ninja that's going to come out in Uprising.
Well, it is interesting. Viserai does have Reek and Consuming Volition, and pummels in their. I mean, I guess you can't pummel a Consuming, but you can pummel a Reek. And
yeah, you can. Yeah,
that would be a really that would be an intense deck to play against. And then
you could even raise a reflex. Can you raise a reflex the Consuming Volition?
Yeah. It's a one cost. So, oof.
Yeah.
All right, now the deck's coming together now.
Yeah.
And then Oldhim, I mean, he just played Macho Grande. Turn one Macho Grande. I mean, it's hard to argue with the inherent dominate and the control factor that Oldhim can put out there. I had a similar list, kind of. I did have Chain and Briar for competitiveness in Commoner, obviously because of the seeds and the ball lightning, huge factors there. I did put Leviah, I had to, because I feel like Hooves of the Shadow Beast, Dread Screamer, Graveling Growl, and like Hungering Slaughter Beast, that all kind of feels super strong to me. But like most Leviah builds could kill itself quite easily.
Well, you'll see it eventually. People listening now in the future.
I can't wait. And then I put Ira because actually I put Ira and Katsu. I feel like both Ira and Katsu, just the Kodachis are just so strong, and Ira is probably a little bit more strong than Katsu in this format. But yeah, I mean it's interesting that we kind of came up with similar lists here. Outside of you going heavy on the brutes and the jank, but it is what it is. But speaking of some cards that we can play in this format, what are some cards that you feel have their chance to shine in Commoner? Because sometimes you have these really cool commons, but they're just not cutting the mustard in the competitive formats.
Yeah, definitely. I think the list that I compiled was basically like 2 cards that do similar things. The first one is Sun Kiss and Moon Wish from the Arcane Rising set. I think these are. I'm going to shout them out because they actually appear in the next UPF game. I played a Briar, Sun Kiss, and Moonwish deck, which I think, if I was playing it in Commoner, would be, if it was a 1v1 situation, I think would be absolutely bananas. So you have to sort of build your deck around giving Moonwish go again in order to play the Sun Kiss after it, which then allows you to draw a card and then go again. And if you draw another Moonwish, you can just play that again, go and search for another Sun Kiss, play that, draw draw a card, gain a life, then it's just ridiculous. So if you can get those chains off with Sunkiss and Moonwish, and then you combine it with the next cards on my list, Razor Reflex and Pummel, because you can pummel a Moonwish, which is just fantastic. It makes it really, really. I think it could be really good in Commoner. It didn't really, spoiler alert, shine in UPF, but there was one turn when it just went off. But I think in Commoner it could be a very good list to try and throw together. And Briar obviously works into that as well, because she can give a lot of the stuff go again by playing attack action, non-attack action. She can fulfill that line quite often, and a lot of the embodiments of Earth are also come in quite handy as well when you are blocking, and you can normally get that if you are forcing the on hits through with pummels. So yeah, I think that could be good.
I actually also had the Moonwish Sunkiss combo on my list.
Nice.
I've seen people try to break it. I got to shout out a bud that that was playing a wild Rhinar Sunkiss Moonwish deck at a ProQuest last season, and man, it was so funny because he was rolling scab skins like it was nobody's business, and he would get up off the table to run the scab skins, which was just so much fun. But yeah,
I didn't think of that.
Yeah,
didn't think of that at all. Yeah,
there you go.
Idea,
there you go. What else did you have on your list?
So yeah, I touched on it. Razor Reflex and Pummel for the number 2, because it's just forcing the on-hit effects through in any deck is going to be be good. So yeah, nice common attack reactions. Obviously they're used in metas as well. So yeah, definitely good. Then I had, obviously we touched on it quite a lot, discard effects in Consuming Violation and Reek of Corruption. I think both common cards. So I think you could make a Chain or Briar or even Viserai deck that uses these. Viserai will be harder to do, I think, because he doesn't have much go again enablers, whereas Briar and Chain do have go again enablers, which are just built into the hero themselves, obviously. So yeah, I think you can make some cool discard decks with those 2 cards in Commoner.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet. I actually didn't have any discard effects on my list, but I see you have some ice, like the ice cards in general. You think are gonna really shine in Commoner?
Yeah, I love the ice cards, and the fact it's just the ice cards are inherently just very, very good at interacting with your opponent, whether that's discarding cards or just taxing them. It's making it so that they have to think every time, because they've either got a frostbite or they're having to discard or what have you. They're never going to have an easy. You're making the opponent think constantly with ice cards. And you're not letting them really play their deck because you are taxing them in a certain way. So I think that could be very interactive cards to use in this format. Albeit they're horrible to play against, but
not very fun to play against. But
not fun at all.
It is what it is. And then finally, I see. Actually, this is a card that we both have. You put Rifting, which I love that card. I put that one as well. Rifting. It's just so close to. I want to play the red one in Brute so bad because it's got the 6 attack. And then explain why you put Cadaverous Contraband.
Yeah, so I think this is mainly the red one because again it's a 2 for 6, and obviously if it hits, it's just a bit of recursion. It's just another on-hit effect where in Commoner, where you only have certain lines available to you, you might need to force an on-hit through to get something back out of the graveyard, which actually allows your deck to function a bit more. So it's just potentially putting some of those in there to just sort of smooth it out, I guess, and just having another okay rate of an attack for 2 for 6. Similar to Rifting is 2 for 6 as well, isn't it?
Yeah, the red one.
So
yeah, some good on hits are always good.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I had Rifting as well. I had the Moonwish Sunkiss combo. I think that's really sweet. I think Back Alley Breakline is a card that we can see have more play, probably in like Azalea.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
in Commoner. And I put Slogism because we see a lot of Nimblism getting played, but Slogism kind of is like Nimblism's ugly cousin. And
yeah, it is.
I think.
Oh no, not Slogism.
And then I think that we could see some really cool big beefy attacks with the Slogism.
Oh yeah.
In Commoner, I think that'd be sweet. Just like huge go tall decks, which is a lot of fun. And then I did put a Runeblade card on here, the Sutcliffe's Research Notes. I kind of
Oh
like
yeah,
that card. I think
yeah.
it plays really really fun, and I'd love to see it, get some play, maybe in Viserai in Commoner.
Yeah, it's a good enabler, isn't it? Because it gets you some rune chance most of the time if you're going the sort of hybrid strategy, 50-50
Hmm.
attacks, non-attacks. It's got go again on it, so the next rune blade card you play after that will generate a rune chant from Viserai as well. So yeah, I guess in Commoner that is a good shout. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, very excited, but I'm excited to explore the format more as it kind of grows and we get more heroes and more cards. But yeah, I mean that's Commoner. Before we go, I wanted to see if you had any quick thoughts on the Classic Battles product. We don't have a lot of information other than stuff that's been leaked,
Yeah.
even though it comes out in a couple days. It seems sweet. It's very, very beginner focused. It seems,
Yeah.
and which is great, and I think that's awesome. Do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it's a great product. I'm not sure if it's really an entry level product. It's more like a it's like something you'd see on the it's like similar to the dual decks Magic the Gathering used to
Mm-hmm.
do. You know, you see them in your local game store. You're out in the sort of town city with your friend, and you're like, oh, what's that then? It's classic battles, Rhinar v Dorinthia. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna grab that. I can identify with Rhinar. Okay, yeah, well, I'm gonna be the lady. It's just like it's just one of those things you can pick up off the shelf and be get ready to play straight away. And I think as well as that, it's killing two birds with one stone because it might introduce people to the game in a way where they just play with their friends kitchen table and they might think, oh yeah, I'm gonna start upgrading these or look into the game more. But also there's unique cards in them as well, so people that want to get those unique cards that are playing either Rhinar or Dorinthia, I think is kills two birds with one stone. Quite excited about it, and I think I will be doing a stream of playing this against my friend next. I think it's next week or the week after, as long as his internet holds up. So, anybody who's listening to this now in the future, you want to come and see some classic battles being played, that's what I'm going to be doing it. So it should be fun. I'm playing the Brute. He's playing Dorinthia.
Good, good. I was about to say you better be playing Brute.
You better be playing Brute, otherwise I'm going to get kicked off this podcast right now.
Now, do you have any uprising hot or cold takes? As we still a couple weeks away from spoilers and
Yeah.
the release.
I think obviously the fourth hero thing was debunked, wasn't it? That was shot
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay.
Unfortunately.
Well, then there's still a chance that we get some kind of majestic hero that is hard to draft, but you can draft it if you open it.
Just appears.
I told Flake because we did a whole video and I was like, we're not giving up on this until there's absolutely no hope.
Oh yeah, the fourth hero video. I remember that. Nice. Hot takes. No, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be really fun to see. I think this is going to be one of those sets as well that similar to Monarch. Really, it's like a year or so apart from Monarch, and the fact that they're bringing allies into it again, and sort of focusing on potential sort of building the board state in opposed to just chucking numbers at each other. I think is going to be an interesting design space for the game. And obviously with the dragons coming into it, it's just going to be awesome. There's probably going to be some other stuff in there as well. I think James White on a tweet that I saw earlier or the other day or something said about ash wings or something like that.
Ooh.
It's relating to ash wings. I think there must be sort of like little phoenix birds or something. But yeah, I think it's going to be cool. I think it's going to be good, and it's definitely going to explore a space that is more about board state development rather than just chucking numbers at each other, which I think is a good little design space to get into. But you don't want to sort of go into it too much because obviously I know you hate Prism because of the fact that she builds a board state.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is. I play Doomsday and I love getting Blasphemous out there. So I enjoy that aspect of it. I think maybe less auras and stuff like that. I think the allies are kind of cool, and I hope. I mean, the Draconite already looks awesome. So
they do, yeah.
Very, very, very neat.
What's your favorite dragon?
What's my favorite dragon? Oh, I don't. I have to look at what they do so far, or are you just saying in general because it's going to be Smaug?
Just from how they look.
Oh.
Just from how they look.
I think the one that's spewing out the blue fire.
Oh yeah,
I forget which one.
Divinia.
Yeah, that one's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
So
looks really awesome, doesn't it?
very excited to play with these cards. I mean,
Definitely.
this might be my first foray into Illusionist outside of the
I
Prism.
don't believe it.
Outside of the Prism Precon, but
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. But that's gonna do it for the show. Thank you, Az, for coming on. You're always a pleasure, and you're one of my best buds in the game, and I appreciate you
Cheers, mate.
for everything you do and all your content and all, just our friendship. It's great. You of all people exude Big Bud's energy, and it's quite appreciated. So if you could, for the people listening, could you please plug all of your things?
Sure. Yeah. So I am on YouTube. Still very, very small in comparison to lots of others, but yeah, still just loving the game, and that's Go Again Gaming on YouTube, and quite active on Twitter these days, just because I love the community, love the people that are coming into it as well, and that's at Go Again Gaming AZ. Quite annoying that it didn't allow me to have the extra Z on the end there, so it doesn't really fit. But never mind. That's where you can find me. And yeah, that's where I pretty much am at the moment with regards to my sort of presence as such.
Cool. Well, and everybody can find me at FreshBudsPod on Twitter. You can email the show, freshbudspod@gmail.com. Join the Discord. Check out the Patreon if you're so inclined. We're having a lot of fun out here, and I have a couple more things down the pipeline. I'm getting into some writing, which I'll share with the folks out there, and that'll be exciting. And as you know, I like to end the show with some food, and I wanna touch on what Mr. Capolo, Mr. Medium Fella, had said. What is the best candy in the UK, and why is it the double decker?
Oh yeah, he has hit the nail on the head there. That's exactly what I would say. Whenever my nan gets me chocolate for Easter, she always gets me like a double decker egg with like 4 chocolate bars on the side, which I can devour in my own time. Normally the same day, actually. It is a great candy bar. It's like got like
I'm looking at it now. Actually, it looks delicious.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see the actual makeup of the actual bar or whether it's just the wrapper, but it's got like nugget on the top layer, and then it's got like crispy cereal pieces underneath that, and then it's just chocolate on the bottom. So yeah, it's just really, really nice. Lots of textures and lots of flavors as you bite into it, which is what I like. You get the sort of the soft sponginess, then you get the crisp, and then you get the chocolate.
Oh man, that sounds good.
Yeah, it's very nice.
I'm gonna have to go to. We have here in Jersey, we have a store chain called World Market where you can get stuff from all over the world, and they tend to have some British candies, and I'm gonna have to look next time I'm there. I'll be grabbing one.
So, you know what? I mean, I'm yet to send you a package, which I'm not going to spoil on here as to what it is, but I will include some double deckers in there.
You're the best. You're the best.
You're the best. You're the best.
Now, all right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Az, and everybody stay fresh and have a good week.